Bethany Bell reports from Vienna.
The resolution, if passed, would accuse Iran of being in non-compliance for the first time in almost 20 years. It would also carry the threat of an eventual referral to the UN Security Council. It follows a report from the IAEA last week, which cited a general lack of cooperation from Iran and raised concerns over secret atomic work and undeclared nuclear material in areas which have long been under investigation.
The BBC's Bethany Bell, a 6.3 magnitude earthquake has struck central Colombia. No casualties or destruction has been reported, however. Breaking news at townhall.com. Federal health officials say a salmonella outbreak linked to the large eggs recall has made dozens of people sick in 7 states in the West and Midwest. On Friday, the August Egg Company recalled about 1.7 million brown organic and brown cage-free egg varieties distributed to grocery stores because of the potential for salmonella. A runaway pet zebra has been captured in Tennessee.
The Rutherford County Sheriff says Ed is the zebra, not the sheriff, says Ed was captured Sunday in a pasture. He was airlifted by helicopter to an animal trailer. The zebra had been on the loose since the last day of May. He'd been seen running along an interstate before disappearing into the woods, and nobody seems to know where old Ed came from. Ed quickly, however, became an instant hero on the internet. Jason Walker reporting.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
Come together right now.
All right, folks, you certainly know what that theme song means by now. That's right. It's time for another episode of America Matters. I'm your host, Leo Zacky, with Eddie Floyd, and joining us today is Brady Fuchs. And I'm so glad to have him here. He's got his amazing Arizona Bear Down sign there on the wall. That's where I went to school. I love that.
All right.
AKA WarHamster. So we're glad to have him with us. And folks, before we jump into anything, I want to give a big shout out, hello, welcome, and thank you to everybody out there tuned in on 93.7 KPGF as well as AM 1060. And to all the folks out there listening on Radio for America, the Salem Network, the Answer Network, the Kevin Jackson Network, and of course, AUN Television. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you to everybody out there who on those networks gets this broadcast out there so y'all can tune in. Don't forget, you can always get involved in today's show by going to the America Matters Media's Facebook page or LinkedIn page, or just simply go to Zacky Radio, and you can go find that on YouTube or Rumble real easy. Like, comment, subscribe, and most certainly share this episode and all the other great ones with all your friends and maybe even some other random people that are just in your friends on your friend list there. So we'd love to hear from you. Get involved, comment, and you guys have seen what's going on. You've seen all the chaos that's taking place here in Los Angeles. Another riot. How LA legendary, right? Another riot, but it's not just isolated here in California. These are going to start popping up all over the country, and I think they have. But I wanted to talk to you about what's going on here in LA and what happened this past weekend. What if I told you that these riots, as they're being called, or protests really is what they're being called. They're riots, let's face it. But let's say they weren't a protest, and they were actually a product of something that was organized, a product that was put together with funding and printing and strategy and PR, a product that was marketed to look like rage, but was really built for power. Because you had hundreds storming the streets, blocking the freeways, assaulting federal officers, burning American flags, chanting slogans printed on slick uniform signs, And right away, the media jumps out and says, it's organic outrage, But here's the problem. It wasn't organic. It was engineered. And today on Zacky Radio, we're pulling back the curtain on the money behind the madness. We're going to show you who paid for these riots, how our tax dollars were funneled into these radical organizations, and how this same machine is now controlling the narrative, crushing dissent, and setting fire to California's civic institutions. And then in our final segment, we're going to reveal the single biggest red flag, a name almost no one's talking about, but one that connects the riots in LA, well, to global propaganda networks and even the Columbia protests.
Wow.
So stick around. You're going to want to hear everything. You're going to want to be here to the end of this episode. So let me set the stage for you guys. We got a little video here, so we're going to play that real quick. This is the spark that lit the world and, the ones that didn't. So play that tape real quick. So you can see there's a car on fire. People are just massive people are just gathered around it. Everybody's got their phones up recording it. World Star. Right, Brady?
Yeah, I was reliably told by CNN that these were peaceful protests.
Yeah, they always are. They're extremely peaceful when you see stuff on fire.
Yeah, that's a dead giveaway that people, they're really just flower children.
Of course, yeah, that's what it is.
It's funny. You're hinting at the big theme we're going to hit on today, but we've seen this pattern over and over and over again with regime change all over the world. They call it color revolutions, Operation Gladio attacks. The U.S. has used these type of tactics over 88 times in foreign countries, and we started seeing it domestically in the age of Trump. And really, the strategy behind it is you give the appearance of a massive popular uprising. But you go back to Black Lives Matter in the Summer of Love in 2020, you take a city of 2 million people, and there'd be maybe 2,000 people on the street, so 1/10 of 1%, and the media will blow it up to make it seem like a popular uprising. But really, it's just a very small, noisy minority.
Right.
It's always the small, noisy minority. See, it's the same thing that the Soviets did in Russia in 1916, 1917, where they said that they were the Bolsheviks, meaning the many, but really they were the Mensheviks, the few. So they just were really loud about it. And we've seen, in history, these uprisings that have been real, real uprisings, like, the Arab Spring in 2011 with, Mubarak being overthrown in 18 days, or, the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, where people, the Germans or Berliners, physically tore the wall down with their bare hands, or in Hong Kong more recently in 2019, where protesters built a human chain stretching miles to demand freedom from the CCP. See, in those moments, people risked everything to fight tyranny. But when you compare it to what's happening here in 2025 in Los Angeles, and I guarantee you it's going to spread around the country much like it did in the Summer of Love, the George Floyd bullcrap riots, you're going to see what we're already seeing. Professionally printed signs, coordinated street closures, chants that sound like they've been very well rehearsed other than, pure rage and people coming together. What we're witnessing is not rebellion. This is a ritual of the left, a ritual that is repeated in city after city, and it's funded by faceless nonprofits. It's protected by silence, and it's used as a cover for political power grabs. So you got to ask yourself, if these protests aren't spontaneous, which they're not, well, who lit the match, right? And then who profits when the smoke clears? Because, that's what we're going to dig into today. And we've seen this with the BLM nonsense, those 3 lesbian black ladies that basically stole all the money because, they were helping. It was all about, racial injustice and, the death of George Floyd. But, they wound up with like $10 million mansions.
Right.
So.
Yeah, before you jump in, Leo, the other point I wanted to make just to sort of set the table is this is not just the leftist religion. It is also out of the leftist playbooks. And we've got a number of books where they tell us exactly what they're going to do. There's one called Black Bloc, White Riot, the Anti-Globalization and the Genealogy of Dissent by an A.K. Thompson. And there's a number of these. You can just read exactly what the tactic is. But what they're really trying to do is to get a government that they oppose to overreact so they can be portrayed as a sympathetic victim to an oppressive regime. That's their end goal, among many other things. But that's really what this tactic was developed for. And really the answer to it is not to overreact. And people will eventually get riot fatigue.
I agree. Well, look, we're going to have to talk more about that when we get back from our first break here on America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd, and joining us today is Brady, the WarHamster. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd. Let me tell you about my favorite non-profit public charity, Wainema Wild Horse Sanctuary, located on the Forsyth Ranch in Hallelujah Junction area. And please go to www.wainemaranch.com. That's WYNEMA ranch.com.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
We're talking to Victor from Precision Diamonds. Victor, we have talked before about the fact that you started 27 years ago in Park Lane Mall in a little kiosk. You are now in your own building across the street from the convention center. You've had to do something right.
Well, as we like to think that hard work, you like to think that it does pay off, but you get lucky along the way. You worked hard, you pay attention, and you get yourself ready. So hopefully when the right opportunity comes up to buy a beautiful building like we just have, you triple your size, you cut your overhead by half, and now you know that you're more competitive than ever.
Plus, you've had a chance to use all of the things you learned from that little kiosk in Park Lane Mall.
Oh, man, along the way, I'll tell you, as far as writing that lease check every month, boy, there were times that it was really hard to do, so you learn from your landlords, and it was really great feeling to say goodbye to the landlord. This has allowed us to truly become your local jeweler, your personal shopper.
Thank you, Victor. Precision Diamonds, your local jeweler across from the convention center.
Hi, I'm Noreen Leary, CEO of the Veterans Guest House. Guest House is a home away from home for our veterans and their families who travel to Reno for medical care. Our house is more than just a warm bed. It's a place of camaraderie where veterans can find support and long-lasting friends. We serve veterans, men and women, young and old, Navy, Army, Marines, Coast Guard, and Air Force. Wherever they hail from and whatever their circumstance, the Veterans Guest House is ready to support them. The reason we feel so strongly about our mission is that we know that many veterans would forgo their medical treatments because they simply can't afford the accommodations. The guest house is one of a kind in the country, funded entirely through private donations. Want to know how you can help? There are many ways you can be involved, from volunteering, providing dinners, or supplying items from our wish list. Find out more about the guest house at www.veteransguesthouse.org. Serving veterans today, tomorrow, and for years to come.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd. And today joining me is Brady Fuchs, a.k.a. the WarHamster. We're glad to have him on. And I want to tell you a little bit about Mr. WarHamster real quick because, he's the man with all the receipts here. We got him on. He's a special guest today, and he's been tearing up the internet with his forensic breakdowns of left-wing funding networks and NGO dark money and radical group infiltration. he's not just an analyst. He's a warrior. That's why he's the WarHamster. And he's on the information front lines. And, well, you're the WarHamster, brother. I mean, you've been tracking the CHIRLA money trail for the past, I don't know how long, but you're on the front line with these PSL front groups and the shady foreign billionaires bankrolling chaos here in the U.S. So long before most people even knew about what any of these acronyms meant, you were there. So I'm glad you're with us, Brady. So thanks for joining us.
No, it's my pleasure. You got to give a real big shout out to Doge with them cutting the USAID funding.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell who to start tracking down by who screamed the loudest at getting their funds cut off. And so that was a real big, easy find. And another shout out's got to go to a Twitter character named Data Republican. And she's an amazing autist, has created all kinds of research and search engines for us. And so she basically makes 10 hours of work take an hour, because that's the true genius behind this stuff. And I just follow trails. So
I love that. You've been on top of this for such a long time, and you're such a when you get after something, like, you go for it, like you sink your teeth into it, you don't let go. And I love that. I really admire that, because it's all about bringing the truth. And there's so much misinformation. There's so much corruption everywhere. And you want to make sure that people get the truth, just like me. But you're out there grinding. And I really, really admire that about you, Brady.
Yeah, honored. Thank you.
So, before we jump into the weeds here, why don't you give the folks a little 30-second primer? What tipped you off that the LA riots, weren't as spontaneous as they're being made out to be?
Well, you get some same patterns. I mean, obviously we saw this stuff happen in Summer of Love. The pallets of bricks would show up, perfectly made signs. These are not organic. You can find this all over Twitter, examples of this. The people who make the signs, they actually sign their name onto it. Matching gear. We've seen the Antifa playbook. They spend hours making their shields. These things are not just plastic shields. These are actual weapons to use against police. I mean, every time you see those things connect, there's somebody behind it and organizing it. It is not organic.
Right. And following the money, right? That's always the best way to figure out who's behind it. How did you figure out where this is all coming from?
I'm not the one who found this one first. That was Data Republican who put the CHIRLA stuff out first. I've taken it a little further, but she's still on it. So I may even pull up her Twitter thread for us. But that's the one who tipped me off. I've got her on a high alert because her research is phenomenal. But you bring up CHIRLA. Let me just show you how we track these things real quick. I think your audience might enjoy this. So I'm going to try to use this screen share.
All right. Let's get his screen share going if you can.
And this is usaspending.gov. Are you seeing that okay?
Pull it up and share. Get it on the screen there, Jeff. I mean, I see it in the corner there. Okay, we'll make that bigger. Let's just make that full screen. Go ahead and make that full screen so everybody can see it. Perfect. All right, let's go.
All right, this is a great research tool. You just type in a keyword. In this case, I did CHIRLA. That's the Coalition for Humane Immigration Rights in Los Angeles. And this is how much U.S. government spending they've received.
Wow. Look at that. It's already $700,000.
Yep. So we want to go a little bit deeper. You just click on one of these. And you should be seeing a new screen. And scroll down to the bottom here. And you want to know who is funding it. Do I have the right screen up? Hang on.
We've only got the...
All right. Share this tab instead. Okay.
There we go.
And you want to know who's doing the funding. Well, right here, we've got $450,000 in 2023, $250,000 in 2022, another $250,000. And they didn't have any funding all the way back to 2014. So why did they get this funding the last few years, and who did they get it from? Well, the number one person who gave them this funding was the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS.
What?
Oh, yeah. So I've got a bit of problem with that.
Well, 2014, that's Obama's administration, so that makes sense.
Yeah. But the DHS, I got a bit of a problem with it. So I went to the DHS website. And what is our mission? With honor and integrity, we will safeguard the American people, our homeland, and our values. So why in the heck are they paying for rent-a-riot groups?
Well, you got to have a problem if you're going to be the solution.
Boy, that's really Hegelian. Manufacture a crisis, synthesis, antithesis, synthesis. It's exactly what it is.
I mean, and that's what's happening. I mean, look, you're not needed if there's no issues. That's what it looks like to me. That's
the playbook. That's the regime change playbook. That's how the left is always. I mean, like I said, it's in their academic journals, and of course, our taxpayers have been funding their professors to write this garbage. But these kids go to their indoctrination centers. This is what they're learning in the social studies. And I majored in social sciences at the University of California, Irvine, which is where this stuff is one of big breeding ground for it. I know what these guys say and think.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not even shy about it. They're proud of it. They're true revolutionaries, some of them.
The revolution for what? For communism because they hate America so much?
What I'm hearing, what I've been reading lately, is they actually believe that socialism hasn't been done properly yet.
Oh yeah, that's always the excuse.
It's got to be democratic. If we have democratic stakeholder capitalism, where every single worker has an equal say in how the company is run, and you and I both know as business owners, you let
nothing will get done.
Yeah, every single employee, work a 10-hour week, and you go out of business the next day.
Right.
So that is their true dream, is their true socialist utopia. Looks something like that. It's morphed from Marxism into something new. In fact, they reject some of Marxism if you listen to them talk. And it's worth listening to their thought leaders, because you got to know what they're thinking if you want to oppose them with better ideas.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Well, speaking of their wonderful ideas, why don't we take another look at another video here that we have of some of the carnage going on out there. Why don't you play that tape for us real quick, Jeff? Roll the tape, Jeff. Yeah, just tagging up some Waymo vehicles.
Yeah, my question for you, I've been on the streets of LA protesting during the lockdowns. We were up in, protesting on behalf of the police departments who can't protest for themselves, who didn't want to get vaccinated and all that sort of stuff. So we went up there and did it for them. We didn't spray paint any cars, but I also didn't see a single one of these people out there. And that was true tyranny going on in real time. Mm-hmm. And so their whole premise is that they're standing up for authority, but where were they in 2020?
Of course. Well, they only want their Marxist authority. They don't care about the vaccine stuff, because they're in this mindset of one world organization is good. They want that totalitarian rule. They want that. I don't understand why they could possibly want that.
They think they'll be the totalitarians.
Well, of course, everybody thinks they're going to be at the top when they're part of one of those protest groups. The reality is they're just useful idiots.
That's the exact term, is useful idiots, and that you can read that in the Communist Manifesto or all sorts of writings going back a century. So useful idiots are the first person to get killed once the communists get in power. The Bolsheviks did that. Mao did that. It's been consistent.
Mm-hmm. That's how they do it. I mean, hell, even with the Sturmabteilung, got them out of the way. Seen it all happen. So these people they vote Democrat, but they're not Democrat. They act like liberals, but they're not liberals. They're just actual communists. And they want to bring about communism and destroying everything. They want all these handouts, and it doesn't work. And, they destroy LA. They destroy Seattle. They destroy San Francisco. They destroy Minneapolis. They destroy cities all over the country. They burn. They loot, and they're just looking for an excuse to take advantage. They say it's in behalf of this, but it's not on behalf of anything. It's other than their self-serving interests.
No, and what's interesting about it is you talk to these people, and I have engaged some of them, and you listen to what do they think they're so angry about, and they'll talk about the corrupted capitalism and our crony capitalist system, and how Wall Street corrupts everything and owns everything, and they're right. They're absolutely right. The problem is they don't have the right solution.
Correct.
Their solution is bigger government, more totalitarian control. And the solution is free markets, less government.
Absolutely. That's the same conversation I've had with so many people. I get it. The megacorps are getting favoritism. They're taking over a lot of, industries, and it's making it impossible for mom and pops to survive and become anything. But the reality is that the people that these same leftists, these Marxists or communists, whatever, vote for, they vote for the Democrats. Those are the ones that put the high tax laws into effect. Those are the ones that raise the minimum wage. Those are the ones that make it very difficult for small independent people to create business. And those are the things that favor the big industries. Because the reality is those same Democrats that they support for their Marxist ideas are the same ones that are getting funded by those big megacorps.
Yeah, absolutely. And we start talking about the NGOs and the big, I call it, if I can use the term circle jerk, the way the money works is an NGO will give money to a political candidate. It's tax-free money, goes in as a campaign contribution to get that candidate elected. That elected person then goes to DC and earmarks in a bill money going back to the NGO. And then the NGO basically gets to go out and spend it on riots, all on the taxpayer dime. It's one hand washes the other.
Yep.
And that is the corrupt system behind the scenes of the NGOs.
It is. Well, look, Brady, we got to take our bottom of the hour break here on America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Brady Fuchs. We'll be right back.
Barbecue, the Butcher's Kitchen, would like to thank every customer for your loyalty and continued support through these challenging times. Call for takeout and delivery of rib tips, brisket, ahi, tuna, roasted veggies, and much more. Barbecue is open from 11 to 7, Monday through Saturday, and delivers hot food safe and healthy. Call 499-5855 for details. 499-5855 Barbecue, as featured on diners, drive-ins, and dives. Get real. Get into Barbecue Reno.
The Delta and Bonanza saloons in Virginia City are simply elegant. Imagine ascending the grand staircase and being surrounded by the Victorian elegance and grandeur of the historic banquet rooms. Original crystal chandeliers, mahogany bars, and oak dance floors highlight the eloquently appointed spaces. A truly romantic and unique setting for your wedding, banquets, or holiday parties. Detailed ceremony and menu planning ensures your special event is a memorable occasion. With just one call to Jesse at 775-847-0789, all of your arrangements will be handled by their experienced staff with your every expectation in mind, including cakes, flowers, photography, videography, music, and party amenities. Complete ceremony and reception packages are available, as well as their famous themed weddings. Since 1865, the Delta and Bonanza Saloon's guests have come from every state in the Union. Now it's your turn. No event is too large or too small. Let the Delta and Bonanza Saloons plan your next incredible event. Call Jesse at 775-847-0789.
Businesses, writers, check this out. Go to lrpnv.com to get your printing, publishing, and professional services today. Need a virtual office? A place to receive and forward your mail with professional address and suite number for your business? Someone to answer your telephones? Want to rent a conference room for only $15 an hour? What about that book you've been wanting to have printed? LRP Printing and Business Center can do it for you, and they have a professional assistant on site daily, Monday through Friday. Just call 775-356-1004. Need copies, business cards, invoices, books, booklets, or graphic design to help brand you or your business? Just call 775-356-1004 or go to lrpnv.com. With a great selection of new and used books, you can get your printing done and a book to entertain you in your time off. And don't forget, you could have your business sponsoring the Bookhound Radio Show, just like Andrew Martoni, author of Little Man in the Math, does every week. Just go to lrpnv.com. That's lrpnv.com or call 775-356-1004. They'll provide solutions for your business and writing projects.
Hey everyone, Dave Escher here, introducing you to our new store, the Nevada Marketplace, in the Reno Town Mall. Anchored with the Buy Nevada First gift shop, we've added over 60 micro shops, giving locals a place to set up their dream store. We are now 20,000 square feet strong, supporting over 250 local merchants with all things made in Nevada and more. We have more locals in one place than anywhere in the state, ready to help you find that perfect gift. We're open every day with easy parking at Peckham and Virginia. Go to buynevadafirst.com, your source for all things local.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we're back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and WarHamster today. Brady Fuchs, he's the man making it happen. He's out there doing the research. He's got a great team of other super sleuths figuring out what's going on, where this money's coming from. But, some of the things that I'm concerned about, is, Brady, where the hell is CHIRLA getting these grants from? Like, who in Sacramento is signing these checks?
Those would be your favorite politicians for the most part. I mean, this is how the bureaucracy actually runs. I mean, it's giving you a peek behind a little x-ray of what the government really is. And so much of the government spending goes to things that the government has no business doing in the first place, not only on a statewide basis, but on a national basis. We need a dose for California like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've got a lot of wasteful spending everywhere in this state, whether it's corrupt sheriff's departments to, ridiculous things that they're like the bike lanes that might as well be painted out of gold because they're overcharging them like crazy.
Yeah, that's a big problem is the government contractors. First of all, you've got to know somebody to get government deals. It's all an insider crony deal. A lot of the ways you get those deals is because you're the ones going to the fundraisers and donating to the politicians. Politicians turn around, money goes right back out the door into your pocket, and then you overbill the government by sometimes 3, 4, 5x what it should actually cost.
Yeah, and a lot of these funds wind up making it to the Party for Socialism and Liberation, doesn't it? It
does. There's another source that Data Republican tracked down, and we're going to want to keep an eye on this guy. There's a gentleman by the name of Neville Singham, and he's an activist who became a billionaire by pushing Chinese propaganda worldwide.
Wow.
He financed the People's Forum, gave it over $20 million. All of his organizations are heavily involved in the University of Columbia protests. SEIU, California president, got arrested, and okay, that's a different subject. She's talking about, anyway, she's doing a deep dive into this guy. And so basically he was doing Chinese propaganda for a living, became a billionaire. Now he's here pushing Chinese propaganda. And he's one of the financiers that's connected to the LA riots and the Columbia protests.
Of course he is. I want to know more about who the hell this guy is and how the hell he got here. I mean, is he even a U.S. citizen? Is he an immigrant? Like, what's going on? But I mean, to become a billionaire, based on quote unquote activism, something's up.
All right, well, keep talking. I'll find that out for you real quick.
That's obviously, if you're being tied to the Chinese state media, well, obviously that you're here as a bad actor. I mean, you are here to basically like what Germany did when they shipped Karl Marx off to Russia during the First World War. You're an agitator, someone who's going to disrupt that country from within and get it to collapse from within based on their propaganda.
All right, I pulled up this guy's Wikipedia page. You want to take a look at it real quick?
Yeah. Here, you gonna share that screen?
Yeah, you got it.
All right, here, share the screen, Jeff. Get that screen share for us and make it full screen.
Let me know when you got it.
See it? Hold on. Make it full screen, Jeff, so we can all see Neville Singham's page. All right, we got it. Go for it.
Neville Roy Singham is an American businessman and social activist. He's the founder and former chairman of ThoughtWorks, an IT consulting company that provides custom software. We'll look at them in a second here. He sold to a private equity firm for $785 million. He started a consulting business with partners who are active in the propaganda apparatus of the Chinese Communist Party. Kind of jumps off the page. A socialist and supporter of Maoism, according to the New York Times. Yeah, he's a billionaire communist. Notice how that works?
Yeah, right? Yeah, because he's at the top, so it's okay. Communism's good when you're at the top.
His father, Archibald, was a Sri Lankan, while his mother was Cuban. He was a member of the League of Revolutionary Black Workers, a black nationalist Maoist group, took a job at the Chrysler plant, attended Howard University before starting consulting firm. Let's look at ThoughtWorks. What do we know about them? It's a privately held global technology company with 49 offices in 18 countries. It provides design, software, and delivery, and tools and consulting services. I bet there's more to this than meets the eye.
Oh, for sure.
I wonder if they've ever got any government grants. Should we take a look?
Yeah, let's. That's a great idea.
All right. Need to go back. And I need a new keyword.
ThoughtWorks.
There we go. Do we get anything?
I don't know.
I don't think have any hits.
It's still got the CHIRLA keyword in there.
Okay,
There
here
we go.
we got ThoughtWorks.
25,000. That doesn't seem like a lot.
Well, let's see who gave it to him, though. That might tell us something.
25,000, 15,000, 4,800. That's still 40,000, 44,800.
Let's see. Do I have any more on that?
This is how research is done, folks. We're doing this in real time for you guys.
Here we have it. Department of Health and Human Services. That's the 40 grand. Small Business Administration. Funny, the Small Business Administration was also a founder for CHIRLA. That was the second biggest one there. What's the SBA doing, giving loans to these groups? And then, of course,
why is the DOD giving them money?
Well, I can see that's a software contractor, and that's a small contract, but still.
But hold on. Why is the GSA, the General Services Administration, showing up with $0? Why are they even on there if it's a $0 donation?
Let's see. No, it's just telling us about the GSA, what they are. $13.96 billion in award obligations. I love the language they use.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty good stuff.
They gave away $14 billion. Tax dollars. Remember, there's 330 million Americans, right? How do you get to 14 billion? So $10, that's $3 billion. Add another 10 divided by 2. So basically, yeah. It took $15 out of every American's pocket. That's how they gave him that money.
Yeah, a big part of the research I've been doing is looking at the NGOs.
No, not 15. 50.
One of the big parts of my research is looking at these foundations that really run everything, from the old blue blood families of America, going back to the Boston Brahmins and others. And one of the things you find is that these are the same people that created what's called the Tax-Free Foundation back in 1910. The first two were the Carnegies and the Rockefellers. 2 years later, their representatives met on Jekyll Island and created the Federal Reserve Bank and gave us the income tax the rest of us had to pay. So they're hiding the generational wealth behind a tax-free foundation. The big, beautiful bill that Trump's doing right now is trying to raise the tax rate on investment income from these foundations. Get this, from 1.4% to 2.8%.
Double.
That's the total taxes they pay while we get taxed at 35%.
Wow.
They're the ones who own the politicians. They're also the ones who basically finance all of the universities and decide who's going to be teaching there and what they're going to be teaching. That's where they have all these leftist thought leaders come from. It's all through this big tax scheme that allows this generational wealth to control everything from the top down while we pay for it.
I'm always torn because, I think, I don't hate generational wealth because, people worked hard to make it happen. I don't think it should be stripped away from you because you pass.
It's an interesting concept because I truly believe in what you just said. You work hard to build something, you ought to be able to pass it on to your kids. But at the same time, we've seen that this abused. Is there a proper number for a wealth tax and inheritance tax? Does it, if it's too low, you kind of wipe out small farmers. If it's too large, it doesn't, it's a tough question. 20 years as a financial advisor, did a lot of estate planning. Talking to a lot of estate planning attorneys, and this is a hotly debated topic. Is not only from a financial standpoint, but from a moral standpoint. We want to reward success, but we also don't want to reward excess. So
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's tough. I think really the key is not to let these foundations have tax advantages over the rest of us. At least put them back on the same playing field. Right now, they're hiding behind a tax shelter and can do whatever the heck they want. They don't pay taxes.
Well, but it's the problem is that the people that are abusing the quote unquote generational wealth are the ones that are doing bad things to the rest of the world.
Yeah,
the country.
Yeah,
They're just villains.
Yeah, but these are the ones that own the politicians who then spend their money back out to these NGOs under the guise of charity, like Bill Melinda Gates Foundation's charity.
Right,
he's doubled his wealth. You know, that's the problem. Is they do it under the guise of charitable works, and a lot of these charities. I mean, these are some of the NGOs we're talking about. You know, Catholic Charities being a great one. I mean, who's responsible for more illegal immigration smuggling into America than Catholic Charities?
Right.
Nobody. You know, but it's under the guise of charitable, and of course, it's a church activity. It's not taxed at all.
Yeah. Do you ever? I mean, there's so many things to discuss in that on its own. But we got to take our last break here on America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and WarHamster today. We'll be right back.
At Northern Nevada Family Dental, we are proud to announce a wide range of advanced dental services by way of the Photona Lightwalker Laser. The Lightwalker Laser can efficiently and effectively treat most periodontal problems from deep persistent pocketing to peri-implantitis and a multitude of conditions in between. Have cold sores? We can inhibit the cycle of the virus and sometimes even prevent them from occurring. Do you have a snoring or CPAP problem? Through the amazing healing power of light, we can treat tissues inside the mouth without anesthesia, appliances, or cutting, so that after just one treatment, most people sleep better and quieter that same night. By using the power of the laser intraorally, we can also smooth facial wrinkles and tighten sagging necklines, all without you having to be numb, and there's no downtime. It can even be done on a lunch break. Through the FDA-approved Power of Light, these treatments and many more are now available at Northern Nevada Family Dental in Sparks. Have I piqued your interest? Give us a call at 626-7772 or visit us at northernnevadafamilydental.com.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd. Let me tell you about my favorite nonprofit public charity, WarHamster Wild Horse Sanctuary, located on the Forsyth Ranch in Hallelujah Junction area. And please go to www.wynemaranch.com. That's WYNEMA ranch.com.
We're talking to Victor from Precision Diamonds. Victor, I don't know anything about jewelry at all. I don't know anything about diamonds. I need to get something for my lady.
Well, you know what, Jim? Come on in. We are your local jeweler, and we want to be your personal shopper. For 27 years, we know that we are doing business directly with the right manufacturers. We have negotiated great prices. They have the right trend, the right designs, quality, from earrings to pendants to you name it, we've got it.
That means you're going to help me from beginning to end.
My family, we've been working for this for a long time. I don't know how to change oil or anything, but I know diamonds. I know jewelry. So if you want to come in, you don't have to worry about anything. We'll find the exact gift that you're looking for that's going to make you look like $1 million, that you really took the time and effort to choose something, not just say, I'll take this. You know, your lady will know that you took the time and found a beautiful gift for her.
Thank you, Victor. Precision Diamonds, your local jeweler across from the convention center.
Have you been injured in an accident? Trust Adriana Guzman-Freilich at AGF Law, your local personal injury law firm in Reno. At AGF Law, we pride ourselves on being honest, hardworking, and ethical. Let's meet in person to understand your case and fight for your rights. Located near South Virginia and Plum, we're always ready to help. Don't navigate the aftermath of an accident alone. Call Adriana at 775-453-9595 or visit adrianalegal.com. Your recovery is our priority, and we're committed to getting you the justice you deserve.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Brady Fuchs, the WarHamster. And, well, we've been trying to break down what's going on, where the money's coming from, who's all involved in these riots, more riots, these riots about the ICE agents that are coming in and taking out the people that are here, illegally, that have broken the law, that are very often tied to the cartel, that have committed horrible acts of atrocity or murder or rape or, has been bringing drugs into this country, basically just undermining everything that this country has to do. But is it organic? And we're pretty certain that it's not an organic protest and that it's being funneled through the money's being funneled from all sorts of outside agencies and NGOs, and you've got all these printed up signs, and I saw pallets of cinder blocks being dropped off or just left in random places. How convenient, right? Who just leaves a pallet of cinder blocks or a pallet of bricks, right, Brady?
Yeah, I've always wanted to know if they really wanted to find out who leased the truck. We've got cameras everywhere. We know the license plates. Let's find out where the truck came from.
Who leased the truck? Where did the bricks come from? I mean, I guarantee you they're sloppy and there's a credit card attached to it.
Yep.
And even if not, even if there isn't a credit card, and let's say they're squeaky clean, somebody took that order. Somebody had to pick it up. Right?
Indeed. And someone signed for it.
Of course. That's the whole thing. So, how does this all happen?
So let's talk about the signs all made up. The company that printed this, the group that printed these signs for these protests was called the Party for Socialism and Liberation, PSL. And Data Republican says they are literally a communist party. And if you look at their wiki page, it talks about it. Finding their financials was tricky, but she did find a reference to Answer Coalition. That's with all capital A and SWAR. It's an acronym. That comes from the PSL split from the Workers' World Party, that is Marxist. The Answer Coalition, including the movement to liberate Cuba from statesman imperialism. Starting to recognize some of the buzzwords?
Yeah. Imperialism.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, colonizers, whatever.
So these guys are some true believers in their cause. And, like I said, it's hard to track down some of the money, but we'll stay on this one. But we know who's printing the signs, and that usually has to be done. I don't know. When you go get something printed up, don't you need, a couple days to put it together? Then you got to get it to the printer, and they take like 2 days to get it back.
I mean, depending on how much you're looking to get printed, but yeah.
So you're trying to tell them it's an organic riot, but the signs were ready to go.
Right. No, of course. You had this lined up days in advance, if not weeks.
Yeah, and of course, somebody was leaking some of the location of all the ICE officers, and they had basically were trying to tweet out everywhere the ICE workers were going.
Somebody's on the inside, obviously.
Yeah, someone's leaking. You have to stay behind units in our government from the Obama and Biden regimes. They're still there throughout the government.
That purge hasn't been as successful as we would have liked.
They're making some progress, but all those lawsuits kind of slowed down the Doge efforts.
I don't understand how one judge can just put the whole country on pause like that.
He can't. We did a show on that. Douglas V. Gibbs and I did a show on this about judicial overstepping their bounds, and it is absolutely unconstitutional. In fact,
nobody's actually properly upholding the Constitution. I mean, we have sheriffs all across this country that don't stand up to constitutional violations by our elected officials. You literally have sheriffs in the state of California that are upholding this sanctuary city, sanctuary state nonsense and refusing to work with ICE. And one of them is claiming to be a Republican and running for governor here.
I know exactly who you're talking about. When I had Sheriff Mack on my show, Sheriff Mack knows him pretty well, and he went off on him pretty nicely. So it's a good
we're talking about Bianco. Chad Bianco.
Oh, yeah. The guy who thought he caught an assassin, even though he knew darn well the guy wasn't an assassin.
Vem Miller, a guy who's been to Mar-a-Lago a whole bunch, is rubbing elbows and shoulders with all the top, Republican MAGA elite because, well, he's pretty damn MAGA.
Well, here's your hypocrisy. Sheriff Bianco's department let him out on $500 bail, then goes on national TV and said this guy was a potential intended assassin. You don't let presidential assassins or the successful one, you don't let them out on $500 bail.
Right.
You keep them locked up. So he knew the guy wasn't an assassin, yet still went on TV and made what out of himself.
Yeah, well, he was looking for a glow up, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't know the truth. That's why we got to talk about this stuff. That's why we have Zacky Radio. That's why we have America Matters, is so people can actually get the real story, not this mainstream garbage, because the mainstream has been pushing this BS narrative that these are real organic protests and that Chad Bianco is a hero. Just crap like that. He's not. These aren't organic.
This guy took a knee for Black Lives Matter. So.
Yeah. But, And that's on Fox. And there's plenty of evidence on Fox. I always like to share that link with people who say dumb things like vote for him.
Well, we got the word out in the grassroots. I'm no longer in Southern California, but I'm still in touch with a lot of the grassroots groups. And when that happened, went down with Ben Miller, I basically blasted it out to everyone. So I don't think it's a secret anymore that he is not one of us, no matter how good he is in issuing CCRs. But
yeah, well, a lot of people still need to learn more about that because they don't do the research like you do. And look what we discovered with just a couple of clicks of the keyboard and a couple of clicks of the mouse.
Yeah, the internet's amazing.
Right? But that's because people don't take the time to do their research.
Or know how. So we've started to do a live show every once in a while with a couple of other great researchers, Colonel Tanner Watkins and the Ghost of Base Patrick Henry Gordon. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll pick a topic. The other two won't know what it is, and we'll do our research in real time over about 90 minutes, and we'll show the different sites we use, fun things like Wiki Spooks and other great sites like the one I just showed you. And it's we want more people doing this, so we want to share the information, share the steps to get there, because the truth shall set us free.
It really shall, and we have to understand what's going on. We have to follow the money. We can't just accept the mainstream narrative because we know it's garbage. It's been garbage. Don't forget, folks, it's the same people that told you that, discrediting COVID was going to kill grandma, and that, questioning things is very dangerous to our democracy. Are the same people that said these are peaceful protests. They're in the George Floyd riots or whatever you want to call them. They're all lying to you, but all of a sudden, the next news cycle comes in. We have to not memory hold these things. We have to remember what has taken place.
Yeah, and then you got a Jake Tapper going out there trying to sell his book that we were all fooled by Joe Biden. Now, you got to be kidding me. Their ability to rewrite history and lie to your face is disgusting.
It's amazing what they'll get you to believe. But the more they can lie to you, the more you can believe more ridiculous things.
But it seems like we're winning the information war because more and more people are starting to call BS on the mainstream media. Their ratings are as low as Congress is. No one believes Congress. No one believes the media. People are looking for the real truth.
That's right.
They may not agree with the Republican Party, and I certainly don't in many ways.
I agree with you on that.
But they are not total control like right now the current Democrat Party is. Personally, I don't like the party system at all, but that's a whole other show. But people are looking for that truth, and they're not buying the BS, and they're getting better and better at it as our collective knowledge of how the world really works continues to grow. There's freedom in sight in the future.
Absolutely. But look, folks, you got to understand this. If your tax dollars can fund a riot, they can also fund the resistance. So here's the counterpunch. This is the plan. This is the Zacky plan, all right? We're going to immediately have an audit of every California nonprofit receiving over $1 million in taxpayer funds. You got to know where this money's going. You got to have a ban on the use of public money for political protests or material, because this is not what my money is supposed to be used for, and neither is yours. Then we have to have oversight on grant recipients. If they're taking your public cash, well, guess what? Their books better be wide open for everybody to see. The criminal prosecution of any NGO found coordinating with violent agitators has to take place. Because, Brady, we got to bring this home here. If every listener today picked just one group to investigate, whether it was CHIRLA or PSLM or MVP or whatever, right? Where should they start and what should they be looking for? In 20 seconds.
First place we take a look at is always look for follow the money, and that usspending.gov is usaspending.gov is a real good place to start. Then I just go to as bad as Wikipedia is on some subjects. It's a really good place to start, and you can link through. AI is so advanced right now. Once you get hot on something's trail, you can now use the AI to really narrow it down. I like Grok quite a bit because it'll give you like 15 articles to follow up even more. And then, I read some of these articles, and if the writer's still alive, I'll give them a call.
Well, I wish we had more time. We ran out of time, Brady, but thank you for letting everybody know about that. Thank you for joining us today. We definitely got to have you back on. I don't think these riots are going to stop this week, so I'm sure we'll have more to talk about. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see all of you tomorrow at noon.
Cheers.